looked like I lost audio. Excuse me.
Jerry, I'm going to give you host again.
Hey, Ron.
Hello.
Hello, hello.
Joan?
Jerry, Jeff is really going to like today's module.
Yep.
It involves beer.
Well, I like that.
Hey, Amy, where are you,
Got
Amy?
my beer.
That's got beach umbrella written all over it, Amy.
I know. My husband got a flat tire, so I am stuck in the front.
Oh, we lost her.
Oh,
We lost
you're
your audio.
muted.
Sorry, I'm in the front yard watching kids do slip and slide.
Oh, that's
Oh,
great.
fun.
She does live in San Diego, where it is
I do.
very beachy.
75 and sunny all year.
All the
That's living
time.
life.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think there's any better weather year round than San Diego.
Yeah, it's pretty good, except for, the fires and the floods and all the other terrible things we have to deal with.
Yep.
Traffic. Traffic.
No, nobody
I'm
gets
going to say it
everything.
again. You don't deal with three months of bone-chilling cold.
Oof. You only get 3 minutes of bone chilling cold, dude.
See, that's a secret about Colorado no one knows. They all think it's cold. And I'm like, no, our winters are extremely mild. You live up in the mountains, yes, you're going to get 400 inches of snow. But down here on the Front Range, it is 60 in January. Don't tell anybody because we don't want anybody else moving out here.
Yeah.
And it's
Andy,
sunny
where
there,
are
right?
Colorado.
It's
Not
sunny
cloudy.
a lot, yes.
Yeah.
Andy, where are you in Colorado?
We're in Fort Collins, so hour north of Denver.
Nice.
I spent many years in Denver. Three of my 4 kids were born at Rose Medical Center.
Oh, okay, cool.
So I love the weather out there. They're trying to move back.
Yes, it's a secret we don't like to share.
I'm originally from Colorado. I grew up in Evergreen, and all my
Oh, okay.
family's still back there. But we always had a bumper sticker growing up that said, "Don't Californicate,
And
Colorado."
it's already happened.
Why? Because people from California move there?
Yes,
Yeah.
they're
Texas.
leaving California in droves.
Oh.
And they changed the culture.
Yep.
I will tell you, and no offense to anybody from California or Texas, Fort Collins has had a massive influx of Californians and Texans, and it has absolutely changed the culture.
Really?
Yes. Yep.
That's why he's wearing a pink shirt.
Well, with that, Jeff, I think we'll start.
Can't start any better way than that.
That's fantastic. All right. So Joan is not here, but hopefully she'll join us in progress.
She actually might not join. I think this was the week she was going to listen to the recording. She's on vacation.
Okay, good. Good to know. I will follow up with her. So as we come into module 3 here of launch, quick recap of everything we have kind of come up to this point, and I want to whittle it down to the essentials. You now have a sense of brand. You know who you are. And after last week, you should have a really good sense of what your priorities are and how to prioritize yourself as a leader to lead yourself first so that you are better positioned to manage others as well as to produce at your job. Before we dive into module 3, which is going to be how to more effectively communicate to your people in this remote work world, virtual communication world, let's do a real quick recap with Andy as we go back establishing, wait a second, I've got the wrong one up. I apologize.
Well, while Jerry's pulling that up, let's go back. I'm going to call on random people, go through the list here. And I want you to think back to last week. And number 1, I want you to think, what was one aha or insight you had from module 2 with time management and productivity? And then I want you to list off your number 1 personal priority right now and your number 1 business or professional priority right now. So with that being said, why don't we start with Elizabeth?
For me, my number 1 personal is the kids. Professionally, it's kind of just continuing to find the groove. I don't know how else to say it in the virtual space. And then what was your other question?
Any insights, any aha from last week? Breakthroughs?
A lot of what you did, we train on already. So I think for me, it was just continuing with my morning routine and kind of focusing on, starting the day off.
Cool. Awesome. Laura?
Mary, sure. Yeah, okay. I'm unmuted. Sorry. I would say, just going back to my list here. So my number one professional is finishing coaching notes to wrap up a project. So I was just kind of thinking about how I need to prioritize that to get that done for tomorrow. And my personal is actually reading a book on suicide prevention that I'm doing that I'm really enjoying. And then I don't know if this is an aha moment, but just kind of taking thought around some of the feedback around managing others. And I was just thinking how thankful I am that I don't actually manage anyone anymore. And, but thinking about how useful that information would have been about 2 years ago when I was managing about 60 people. So I was kind of feeling thankful about that and thinking, well, I'll file this away for others.
We'll call that a backdoor way of showing gratitude, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Excellent.
That's awesome. Amy, how about you?
Okay. So for me, it was kind of actually the same to what Lisa and Laura were saying in regards to, so personally, I am really trying to do what my perfect morning was, which was getting exercise early in the day. And it didn't happen every day, but definitely I think it's something that I recognize is really important. Professionally, I think I really like the idea of color coding my schedule. I already do the time blocking or try to do it, but I think the color coding was a brilliant way that that I'm trying to integrate. And then as far as insights, similarly to Laura, I am so thankful I am not the director of anything. I recognize how difficult that was.
Yeah.
So-
Well, and what you're going to learn today too, I think this is why this is an important module, especially for anybody leading teams, is we get so wrapped up in learning about the people we manage, we fail to let people get to know us. And so you'll see how today module 3 is going to be very impactful on how you can do that, especially in this virtual setting. Chris.
All right, here we go. So I guess personally, work-life balance and working on the life balance side of things, pulling away from the work a bit, and then professionally looking at, I guess, leadership more often than the management side, excuse me, and focusing more on taking care of those that report to me. Is I think I do that pretty well now, but I know I can definitely improve. And then I guess the aha thing is twofold. One, exercise. Definitely, Jerry, when you showed that time block all the way across, that hit me like a ton of bricks. And I this morning and several mornings prior have followed through with that, and my day starts a little earlier than yours. Usually I will be out of bed by 5 and try to get out on the road by 6 on the bike. And then the other thing I wanted to say was that I think even in my leadership role, I'm too flexible with my schedule and those tasks that I have to do. For instance, today I got a call that on a job that we just finished, a mover was moving some folks into a multifamily facility, and the mover hit one of our concrete tees in the parking deck and damaged it severely. So I got a phone call and was immediately taken into that. And so, no matter what I had on my schedule, if I didn't answer that call, I'm sure it would have been taken care of. But it's nice to know in case there is, a worse situation where there's injuries. But nobody was injured or anything like that. But and it wasn't really anything attributed to us. But yet we're still on the project. That area has been turned over. But yet, we have to take responsibility and provide a good response. So usually upper management should be brought into those difficult situations. So again, flexible because there's always little things like that happening all around me.
Well, and that's the key, Chris, is if you really focus on owning your morning and getting that big priority out of the way right away, odds are that fire, that urgent need, probably not going to happen first thing in the morning. And now mentally, you've just opened the space of being more flexible throughout the day, that if something like that happens, you're just much more open-minded and okay with having to take care of it.
Understood.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. Jeff, how about you?
Yeah, so priorities remain the same as far as, family. I do need to do some work on the fitness piece. My wife's sitting across from me in the office here, so she's hearing this. I'm making commitments I'm going to have to hold to. Professionally, the insights led to my professional piece. The quote, I like the quote from, I think it was that book, The One Thing. It reminded me of the Zen quote around life is about chopping wood and carrying water. It's the unsexy things that I tend to just avoid, and I'll move to other things that I think are more interesting. But then the unsexy things just build and become crises.
Yep.
So I think getting in the mindset of, this is boring and routine, but like you said, getting it done as early in the day as possible, then that leaves the rest of the day to be more creative and do things that are sexy or more fun for me. So I really have to work on that. That professionally, that's the area that I really want to nail down, because I think working from home and not having direct reports, things like that, you can start to create this little space where you actually think you have flexibility. You don't, and you trick yourself into that. So.
Yep. And you have to, especially working from home, you have to give yourself gaps to unwind and recharge a little bit. So important, especially if you're on your laptop. Miss Lauren, how was your birthday?
It was really good.
Good.
So personally, what I'm focusing on is physical and mental health, and I already have like a morning routine, so that like helps a lot with that. And then as far as professionally, I use Google Calendar and I color code, and I also have like a random Google Doc where I just sometimes brain dump everything that's going on in the week, and that just helps me like look at it straight on. And I'm kind of using that and the calendar to prepare myself for like virtual classes and finishing up like the school year this year. In addition to planning out like portfolio work and how I'm gonna like finish that. One of the insights I had was like going through my week and like time blocking. I realized that I have to move after I do a time block. Like I can't be like, I finish a task and then I have to like move. So that's going to be a little challenging to like get used to doing more things in a row and like being able to just like charge through a lot of.
When you say you have to move, like physically, literally move?
Yeah, physically move.
Well, just remember, like if you're working on one thing
and
you complete it or whatever, give yourself that space to physically move, get up, recharge, have a cup of coffee, take a break, go for a walk, whatever, and then get back at it to do the next priority. Don't think you're going to crank right through priorities 1, 2, 3 like that. It's not going to happen. You have to give yourself break. You have to give yourself breaks in between. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Especially, you brought up a great point. College kids right now, with this virtual setting where they're going to work from home, time management is going to be the ultimate maker or breaker for college kids.
Yeah.
So, awesome. Pam.
Hello. Personal goal is re-envisioning my next life phase because I've got my youngest going off to college and my oldest.
Can you speak up, Pam?
Oh, yeah. So I have my youngest going off to college and my oldest coming home from college.
Ah.
Cool.
So, you know, we're going to be empty nesters for a day and a half.
And the one you wish wasn't leaving is leaving, and the one you wish would stay away is coming home.
It's all good. They're very different, but that's part of the reimagining, because it's not going to be just, oh, well, we'll still have a kid at home. It's a different kid.
Yep.
Right?
Different personality. Yep.
Totally. Different ages. And then professional is trying to really focus on providing quality training in this. You know, I keep playing with my format when we're virtual like this. So it's important to me that I keep honing it and sticking with it.
Awesome.
The only insight that I really liked was thinking about the perfect morning. Now that I'm not on the road training, but I'm not traveling, I'm able to kind of capture my best morning, favorite morning, whatever the words were. Perfect morning. Because I don't have the chaos of travel.
You're going to love a tool we're sharing the second half of the coaching tonight, which is a short cycle learning module. And it's something I think that you will be able to adapt very quickly to your training programs, and you'll see a much greater impact and much better feedback from using it. So I think you'll really enjoy tonight.
Great.
Yeah. Awesome. Zach, how about you?
I'm going to say I'm a little jealous of Laura and Amy there about not having to manage people anymore, because that is just a lot of fun. For me, on the personal, is a little more intentional, father and daughter time, be more intent with like the planning some trips and different more fun things. She's 6, so this will be the good time of making memories that last for her and things like that. Professionally is working on better communication, team building, and that kind of ties in with my aha moment when we were talking about, I forgot what you called it, Jerry, with the having a gallon of liquid and trying to give so much, them only being able to retain 4 ounces or something at the time, which that kind of hit me of, oh yeah, I kind of vomit a whole bunch of information on somebody expecting them to remember it all. That's certain people can only retain so much at a time. So being more focused on working through a better way to explain or get my point across in segments, I guess, if you will, versus trying to give it all at one time.
And one of the principles that you'll be able to tap into real quickly, Zach, and this works for everybody, Pam, for you with training, for everybody in the remote work space now, try to increase the frequency of your communication and decrease the volume of it. So say a lot less, but do it more frequently. And that's how you play to the audience's capacity instead of to your content. And think about it. Andy and I could have structured this entire program as 1 6-hour training session.
Yeah, that'd be rough.
Right. And after the first 2 hours, the last 4 hours would have been completely wasted. You would have missed all the insights, all the ahas, because you would have been maxed out, and we would have just been dumping into 4-ounce cups that were already full.
Yep. That's an awesome insight, Zach. Last but certainly not least, Wendy.
Okay, so personal, like a lot of our friends here was getting back into the morning routine, and didn't hit the mark every day since last week, but I hit it a few times in terms of getting in some reading, getting in some yoga, prayer, all those things. Professionally, I need to reorganize my day, or just organize my day. I haven't had any kind of a structure to it. So I'm going to follow your model, Andy, for a while and see how doing marketing and prospecting type things in the morning and then service in the afternoon goes, and then flip it and see which works better for me. So thank you for that tip there. And then insight is just like a general awareness about priorities and even boundaries. So.
Awesome. And Aaron, I'm going to get to you. I did not get to you yet. Quick comment though on what you said, Wendy, is when I said, like morning for prospecting and marketing and things like that, what I would urge every one of you to do is figure out when you are at your peak energy. I'm a morning guy. Don't try to get me to think after 5, 6 o'clock at night. Some of you might be afternoon, evening people, but whenever you are at your peak energy is when you want to also really focus on what matters most. So I talk about getting that number one priority first thing in the morning done. I believe in that. But if you're actually more of a late afternoon, evening type of person, maybe that's when you're getting your best work done. So take what I taught you, but then match it when you find those pockets of time where you have the most energy throughout the day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Aaron.
All right. So in terms of sort of the personal, I think, one of the things in terms of the priority is, getting back to doing some sort of like physical activity in the morning. So stretching. I actually have some bad knee and shoulder currently. So it's actually kind of critical that I do a bunch of like sort of stretching and processes in the morning. So getting back to that as a full-on priority. One of the things, the other that I was thinking about is making sure that I have some sort of organization to the day personally in terms of like eating, breaks, other things. So really trying to structure that a little more, because right now everything sort of bleeds in. Like it's just, I'm working and trying to fit in stuff around work when it should be a little bit more the other way around.
Yep.
The other thing from a professional point of view is, I really appreciated, last week, the conversation about the blocking of the schedules. I actually have some blocks on my schedule currently, but I haven't enforced them particularly well over the last few months or so. So part of that priority is to begin taking back some of those blocks and then figuring out how I can sort of flip it a little bit, where I'm doing more of the same thing instead of sort of toggling back and forth between administrative tasks and then sort of service tasks. So yep.
And as you get more comfortable with time blocking, you'll find that that's where you will find great satisfaction over time, because those time blocks are where you get to do the deep thinking, the deep dive. You develop the ability to just be with that, whether that's a marketing project for 90 minutes, whether that is your portfolio project for 90 minutes, whether that is reframing some of your leadership priorities, or Zach coming up with some of your communication models for your team. Those time blocks become sacred, because that's where, in a world where all of us have a minute here, 2 minutes there, we're doing the shallow thinking. That's where you do the deep thinking, and the deep thinking is always where you find the gold.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Excellent. So as we move through this third module tonight, what I want you to do is really think about your core four, the core four that you came up with in module 1, because we're going to put that into action in a way that helps you to leverage that brand and think about appearance, body language, and tone. Those either become support for your words and your point, or they block access to your words and your point. The more effectively you are at conveying your point, the more you build the relationship and reputation as a great communicator. And as you know, great communicators don't need a lot of time to communicate. So what's your brand? I want everybody to have their core four at the ready, because we're going to be pulling you on camera and talking about different things as we go through this module. And your core four is going to be your boss. Start, if you would, with me with a simple exercise. Fold your arms across your chest like you see this gentleman doing. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple. Nobody that I can tell is confused by the instructions, and nobody asked me for instructions. You didn't explore your possibilities. You just folded your arms in what I call the default position. This is how you have folded your arms your whole life without even thinking about it. Now notice which arm's on top and which arm's on bottom, and reverse the order. How's that second way feel? I see some confused looks. Pam, does the second way feel at all different from the first way?
Yeah, definitely not as comfortable.
Right. Chris, how about you? How'd the second? Notice Chris has already unfolded his arms. So has Elizabeth, so has Zach, and that's natural. Chris, what did you think of the second way?
Since you've done this with me before, I guess I felt a bit different, but expected it.
Yep.
Got to be honest.
So who did not? Elizabeth, have you done this before? Lauren, I know you haven't done before. How'd the second way feel?
It felt weird and unnatural.
Exactly. And what the people who've done this before know, what I'm going to say is all that feeling is the feeling of change. Change hits you right in your gut and it crosswires your brain, even for something simple like folding your arms. But if you do that second way once an hour throughout the business day, by the end of the month, the second way is as comfortable as the first way, and you've doubled your skill set. Folding your arms in a second way is not going to help your career, but the ability to double your skill set as a communicator will greatly enhance your career because it will help you to leverage your brand, it will help you to leverage your priorities, and it will help you to leverage your communication skills. But in order to do that, in order to become more comfortable in an uncomfortable space, you have to learn to lean into the discomfort and do it more often until it becomes more comfortable. That's the trick. Most people just move away from it. And so instead of being able to grow as a communicator, they just stay in the same spot doing the things they've already done. So here's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to talk about something called the Zen of the digital world. And it's one of the things that dramatically separates remote communication from in-person communication. We'll talk about being on camera and being on brand. I'm going to show you a lot of tricks and insights on that. And then we'll deep dive on the mechanics and the medium of Zoom, GoToMeeting, WebEx, all of the remote work world communication modules that we use. Everything from the way you look to where you look to the lighting and how it affects your brand. So I want to start, give me a show of hand, anybody who has found Zoom to be challenging to deal with in the professional space. If you've had any challenges, just give us a show of hands. Lauren, let's start with you. What's the biggest challenge you run into?
Did you say Lauren?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think connectivity issues is a big thing. And then also finding time to like speak and not speak over people or like clash when like other people are talking, and that gets a little awkward for a little minute.
Very much so, because in person you have more physical cues, and on Zoom you're listening a little bit more, even though you have some physical cues. And here's a little technique that'll help you with Zoom. Build in a little bit of pause. Typically when people converse in a business setting, they do it like this. Andy and I are talking, and Andy is talking, and I'm listening until I formulated what I'm going to say. And once I formulated what I'm going to say, all I'm doing is waiting for the pause, and then I jump in. Well, the problem with Zoom is that there's actually a little bit of a micro time lag. There's something called frame sync with Zoom and all of the remote meeting modalities. And frame sync is this. Think about what's going on your laptop. There's video, there's audio. All of that gets compressed down into ones and zeros, transmitted over the internet, reassembled on the other side, and synced back up. Well, that frame sync, while it's really quite remarkable, is not as fluid and as smooth and as advanced as television. And it actually taxes your brain a little bit. So even though consciously you can't see frame sync going on, you can actually feel it in your brain, which is why after 2, 4, 8 hours of Zoom meetings, you're physically exhausted and your brain feels tapped. It's because of frame sync. Well, frame sync also interrupts things like when you talk and when I talk. And so while in person, I'm more used to the cadence, in frame sync, things get a little bit off, and all of a sudden you start to step on each other. And then you both lay out at the same time, and then you step on each other. So the two techniques that are really most helpful in that situation are, one, build in a little bit of pause. It takes tremendous discipline. Instead of just jumping in the open space like we normally do, lay out, give it a half a second beat, then speak. And the other one, and this is the greatest test of your listening skills, listen without the intent to respond. If you think that's easy, go into your next conversation tomorrow, any place in a business setting, and go into a meeting, a conversation, and fully listen without any intention to respond. What will happen is natural pauses will grow.
Question.
Yes, go ahead, Chris.
You just said listen without the intent to respond. earlier when you just started talking about you and Andy talking, you talked about you were formulating your response. What's the difference?
So the difference is I've learned how to listen without the intent to respond. What I was showing with me and Andy as a model was that's what most people do. Most people in a conversation, business, personal, will listen only up to the point where they can think of what they want to say next. And then they wait for the pause so they can say what they want to say. What I'm trying to share with you is an advanced level of communication, and it's listening without the intent to respond. So Chris, you and I are talking, and I just give you my presence. I'm just present with you to listen to what you're saying. I'm not formulating what I'm going to say next. I'm not trying to look at the great, I'm not trying to one up you. I'm not trying to add one new level. I'm literally just being present. In doing so, you'll sense that I'm giving you my full attention. And ironically, I will actually eventually think of more intelligent things to say in response because I've been fully present with you, listening, instead of wasting a lot of mind energy thinking about what I'm going to say. I will caution you, it takes some discipline to pull this off.
I'm sure.
But once you start doing this, and I encourage you to do it in your personal relationships, people will notice the difference right away.
Well, and to that point, Jerry, there's a little trick you can try, especially with Zoom. You should be doing this in person when you're in a room, but even more important on Zoom, it's called backtracking. So if Chris and I were talking and Chris, gives me an answer, says something, what I'm going to want to do is actually restate what he said and then move on to my statement. Because if you constantly focus on, I'm going to restate what that individual just told me, one, it's going to force you to listen. But number two, what it's telling the person on the other end of the computer, even though they're 1,000 miles away, you're listening and you're connected. So something you can try when you're on Zoom calls is really try listening and then restating a little bit what they just said.
Zoom doesn't actually cause the listening problems. Zoom merely exposes them.
Yeah.
That's the power of it. So with the digital space, there's something that I call the Zen of the digital space. Not to get all Eastern on you, but I think you'll follow this simple analogy. And the woman you see on the screen with her hands is doing what I'm talking about. When you are on a Zoom call, when you're on GoToMeeting, WebEx, you're on camera. And a camera, whether it is on your laptop, on your cell phone, in a television studio, on a prosumer camera that you might use, all cameras have energy. They've actually measured this. Cameras have vibrational energy, and you feel that energy. It's one of the reasons a lot of people don't feel comfortable on camera. So the camera is putting energy on you. What normally happens when we're uncomfortable in those situations is we back out, and the camera overpowers us a little bit. We've seen people kind of get mousy and disappear. Some people will actually get too far away from the camera. In our afternoon session, we had a guy who was really good, but he was like, I called him the kid at the Thanksgiving dinner table, the kids' table, because he was like back here. Like, come join the adults. But if you get too much energy, you get too up in the camera, and all of a sudden, I've got all this energy, and I'm coming at you, all of a sudden, I'm overpowering you, and that freaks people out. So you want to find the even balance, where the camera doesn't overpower you, and you don't overpower the camera. And notice the key to doing this is eye contact. Again, much like listening, being present, being fully present, not multitasking, not thinking of 27 things, not thinking of tomorrow's to-do list, being fully present enables you to meet the energy of the camera with your own energy, and that gives you presence. Great communication starts with presence. When you think of the root of present, it's present. You're giving people the present of your full attention. In a distracted world, I can't think of too many things that are more powerful than that. Because you're on camera, it's your great chance to be on brand. As a matter of fact, when you're on camera, you are only one of two things. You are either on brand or off brand. What I want to share with you are some techniques and some insights from years and years in television that will help you always to be on brand when you're on camera. And I want to emphasize this point. You're not going to be perfect. You're going to have mistakes. Things will go wrong. Tonight I had the wrong keynote pulled up. But my brand is not to panic. And as long as I don't panic and Andy's a great teammate. He covers for me. It's fine. It's not the end of the world. You've heard me use the phrase, it's not about perfection, it's about connection. Think about any newscast you've ever seen. Lester Holt on NBC or somebody on CNN or Fox News, whatever you watch. Do you really think those people are always in a great mood at 6 o'clock at night? Do you think they're really always mentally sharp every night when they come on? No, but they've learned as professionals to turn it on and to be on brand. As leaders, you have to do the same thing. And it starts with knowing your brand and then knowing the medium. What makes the medium so much different than in person, the difference between room and Zoom, is the frame. Look at everybody who's in our meeting tonight. Everybody has a rectangular frame around them. I have a rectangular frame around me as I talk to you. As long as I keep my attention within the frame, I enhance the likelihood that you'll keep your attention with me. But notice what happens once I start taking my attention out of the frame. Like if I just gather a thought and I come back smoothly, that's fine. But if I start bouncing around, if I start moving around outside of the frame with my attention, and now if I stay outside of the frame, you're starting to wonder what I'm looking at. If we're in a room and you see me looking over your shoulder, you can always do this and figure out what I'm looking at. But once we come into this two-dimensional Zoom world, if I'm doing this and I'm bouncing around out of the frame, your mind stops listening to me and starts filling in with the idea of, what in the hell is he looking at? And since you can't see it, you start wondering, and now I'm over here talking about something, you're not listening anymore because you're just playing out a different narrative. That's how people get lost in Zoom all the time. You have to honor the frame. You want to put the majority of your attention within the frame. When you leave the frame, leave it smoothly. If you have to look at your notes to see where you are on the agenda, whatever the case might be, gather your information, and then smoothly come back and get back in the frame, get back on camera, and stay there for a while. Here's the guiding principle. When you move, do it smoothly. When you arrive, stay where you land. By doing that, I give you the feeling that I'm in control, that I have poise, and that I'm not flustered. And if I'm not flustered, I enhance your comfort. And once you're comfortable, we can have a much more effective conversation. That's the power. So the frame really is a huge thing. Perfect example. If you look at her, she's doing what I call the cheat. People do this all the time. They cheat their eyes, thinking nobody can see it. Guess what? Everybody can see it. And not only can they see it, but it's awkward. Typically, when we look at something, let's say something loud happens over to the right, you would typically look at it like that. If I just cheat a look, your trust in me goes down. As a leader, trust is crucial. It's essential. And the way you largely hold trust in this Zoom world is to hold eye contact, one person at a time. Now, most people are not terribly comfortable with eye contact, and so they don't know where to look. And since they don't know where to look, they figure if I just look at a bunch of different places and do it quickly, I'll eventually be it right. You won't. It's so simple where to look once I show it to you. First, you have to think about your camera position. Your camera position should be in such a spot that you are eye level with the camera. Now, if you're like most people, I'm going to start moving my laptop around so you can see what I'm talking about. If you're like most people, you would put your put your laptop down on the desk. But notice what happens. Now I'm looking down at you. Been in a few of these meetings, or these, where people aren't even aware of it and just looking up their nose. How uncomfortable that is. This is a very intimidating thing. If I were doing this in the workspace, you'd call HR.
Yeah, look at me. I look like I'm in a hole, and it's because my screen is so big. My camera has to sit up high.
I'll show you a couple tricks around that. This is the kind of the world Jeff's in.
Yeah,
kind of
exactly.
Stuck in a hole. Now the audience is looking down at him, and that is not nearly as effective as this. Eye to eye. We're on equal footing. Remember, on Zoom, we all have equal real estate. We might as well maximize the fact that we have equal footing if we take full advantage of that. And it doesn't take a lot of high technology. If you look around your house, you'll find things like this. This is some decorator box my wife had over in the corner. It's nice and light. I pick it up. I put it on my desk. When I'm on Zoom, presto, I'm at eye contact. It's that simple. So let's go through everybody's shot. I'm gonna scroll through, and we're gonna workshop this a little bit. I'm gonna play around with your shots. So Wendy, do you have 2 screens?
No.
Okay. Because the reason I ask is you're spending a lot of time over here on the right.
The way I had this, what you call it, laid out, you guys were all on the right, so I was actually looking at you.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. I was just wondering because I saw that, and once I came to you and I said, Wendy, all of a sudden you righted your whole body and you gave me your full attention, and that changes my perception of you. It's a much more positive perception.
Okay, yeah. The configuration of everybody changed when you moved to this, away from the keynote. So.
Yep, exactly. It moves everybody around. So Wendy's camera can actually come up a little bit. Put something underneath your laptop. Here's the tell, and it's a fun thing. Once I show this to you, you'll see this with shots everywhere. Do you see the lines behind Wendy? The main line off of her right shoulder, and then the line in the back of the room. Do you see how it looks like they're receding at an unnatural angle? That's because her camera angle is shooting up a little bit. Once we square up the camera angle, all the lines behind you will be square as well. Chris, you'll love this in the building industry. Zach, you will too.
Yeah.
So Wendy, just put a book or 2 underneath there. You can actually bring it up a little bit.
A little bit more, okay.
Yep.
That's 1 book.
You can bring it up a little bit. What I want everybody to see is how getting better. There you go. A little bit of adjustment changes the perception. And I want to take you back to something we touched on very early on in the program. Perception is not reality. I did not change Wendy's excellence. I did not change her expertise. I didn't change her experience. But I changed the way people will feel about her when they communicate with her in this space. And now we align the perception with the reality, and that saves time and a lot of headaches. Zach. Zach's looking way off to the right. Are you on 2 monitors or just 1?
I've got 2. I've got my laptop docked, and then I've got a main one right here in front of me.
Yep, and that's a dead giveaway that Zach has 2 monitors, because here's the way Zach's configured. And I'm not picking on Zach. This is just something I want everybody to feel. If you and I are in person and I'm talking to you, my body language is like this, and I'm turned at a 45-degree angle to you, do you really believe that I'm all in?
No.
Even if I give you a little bit of this, still I don't believe you're all in. Remember, presence. Give me the present of your full attention. Once I square up, once I'm with you, now you're more inclined to stay with me. But if I'm doing this, your instincts are, oh, hell, I'm just going to go multitask and check my email. And that's where meetings start to run away. They start to run amok. So for Zach, there's a couple things I want to do. I'm not sure. There you go. Zach, find your camera. I'm going to spotlight.
Let me move because I've got y'all off to the other monitor, so I can move you over here. Yeah.
There you go. I'm going to spotlight Zach so that everybody can see it. The first thing we want to do is we want to get the monitor with Zach up a little bit to eye level.
Get a book here.
You'll find a designer box.
We're going to play with Zach's lighting a little bit later on when I cover lighting, so don't worry about that too much. Right now, I just want to get Zach's camera angle squared up. And what you see all of us doing here is what I want you to practice. Literally record yourself in different camera angles around the room and see which one you feel most comfortable with as the viewer, not as the presenter. Better.
They come up some more still again?
You can actually come up a little bit more, but you're much better.
Overall, it's a heck of a lot better.
Yep. The main thing I want with Zach is Zach's a big dude. He's got this man beard. He's got these broad shoulders. He works in construction. He's got presence. I want to feel that presence, which I'm starting to feel from him now.
Well, and Jerry, he brought up a really important thing. You said, I want to talk, but you guys are over here. When you're talking, your key, especially if you have a laptop with a camera on it, stare right at that dot. Don't stare at one of the boxes of people that you're talking to. Stare right into that dot, because now they're seeing that you are looking right at them.
It's hard to do because I don't feel like I'm talking to anybody.
That was the one thing I wanted to bring up today. That is so hard.
Because I want to like look at who's talking.
Right. Okay. So let's practice that. Here, this is very important. You don't have to be laser locked on the camera at all times. But the trick, especially as the presenter, is when you're giving content and information, be on camera. When you're looking for reaction, go ahead and take a look at the strip of people. Just do it smoothly. Take your eyes down. You can go through the list of people, take a look at what everybody's doing. Wherever you go, stay there. I came down to the strip of people. I got to look, everybody's paying attention. And now I come back up on camera and I stay back up here. Notice the difference when I did that smoothly versus now, if I try to cheat a look. If I just kind of dip my eyes a little bit, your trust in me will dip. Because this is cheating. We first recognized it in high school when somebody had wandering eyes looking at a test. A cheater in high school would never do this. Hey, what do you got over there? They would do this. And so we feel like somebody's cheating. When
How do you know that, Jerry?
What's that?
How do you know that?
I had a best friend who was constantly cheating off of me.
So do you actually suggest that we close the screens of seeing everybody? Because I'm too otherwise distracted. I think I'm making eye contact with Laura and with Wendy. Should I just collapse all that and just look at my slides and my camera?
You can, or you can do one of two things. You can spotlight one person. If having a lot of people up is bothersome to you, put your cursor over anybody's box and you'll see the blue bar that says mute and next to it with 3 dots. If you click those 3 dots, you can see something that says pin video. And you'll see something that says spotlight video. If I spotlight video, for example, if I spotlight Wendy, Wendy is now the person who's in the large screen on everybody's screen. I control that as the presenter. If I'm not spotlighting anybody, you can go up to anybody's individual box, click the 3 dots and click pin video. And now you see that one person in the main box. Try that. And here's the technique. One person usually represents most people. If you're in a big meeting with 60 people and you don't want to have your eyes all over the place, pick the person who's most representative of the group and pin them. And then that way you can focus your attention on them. Give that a try, and that way it'll help to reduce the overwhelm. The one person I never want you to put in the main box is you. Because if you do, you'll fall into this trap. Oh my God, what did I do with my hair today? Oh, damn it. Is that a spot on my shirt? Jesus, what? Oh, I forgot. And now you're completely off track. You're in your own mind. And once you're in your own mind, your body language disappears, your tone goes flat, and you lose your connection.
And when you pin the video, do you pin it for everyone? So is everyone seeing that view or just you?
Just you.
Just you.
Spotlight, only the presenter controls spotlight. If I spotlight, for example, if I spotlight Chris, now everybody has Chris in their main box. If I cancel that spotlight, now you can pin whoever you want and put whoever you want in your box, even though Chris is filling my box right now. Try it. And that's one way to take a large group and make it much more personal, to remind you to communicate one person at a time. Pam, does that give you a better level of comfort?
Yeah, that helps a lot.
And it will keep your eyes from bouncing all over the place. And because look, the more people you have in a meeting on Zoom, the more variables you introduce. You do not know whose spouse had a huge argument with them. You don't know who's worried about the results from their mom's doctor appointment that morning. You don't know who got an IRS notification. You don't know whose dog is sick and they're worried about. You have no idea. You just see people like, oh. And as a presenter, your mind sometimes will go to, oh man, I suck tonight. I'm not connecting with anybody. It has nothing to do with you. So I always say, find the happy face, pin them, and just rock the room the best you can. You're never, ever going to please everybody.
Would it be good to also pin their face? That sounds weird, but pin it to the camera.
Yes.
So that, because my eyes keep going down to see you guys, but so pin that face near the camera so that I'm looking in the camera.
Yep. You can move the whole thing around on your screen, put them as close to the camera if you like as possible, or just remember, it's okay to move your eyes down like I'm doing now. Do it smoothly, stay where you go, come back smoothly, and stay on camera. So here's something I want everybody to practice. And we'll go through here real quick just to kind of give you a sense of it. But I want you to record yourself when we're done tonight. Do it tomorrow if you like. And notice when you play it back, use the timer on your phone, how quickly you break eye contact. And the average American breaks eye contact every 1.2 seconds. So when you learn to hold eye contact on camera, it's an overwhelming experience for your audience because they're just not used to somebody who has that level of control. And that's how you exercise true leadership influence in a virtual meeting because you are using eye contact. Let's go through it and play around a little bit. Pam, we'll start with you. I'm going to spotlight Pam. There you go. And just tell me about a project you're working on right now that comes to mind.
Okay, I'm doing training in motivational interviewing, and I'm trying all kinds of different techniques with looking into the camera right now. But
hard, isn't it?
All your other faces are down there, and I feel like I'm not looking at you, and we're trained when you're in the room to look around the room. So it's really hard to just stare at one little dot.
Okay, so good. So now, good. Pam had 2 little eye shifts in there. Now what I want you to do, Pam, is just talk for 15 seconds. Tell me a little bit. And then go ahead and move your eyes up to the strip of people. But do it smoothly and do it while you're talking and then come back to the camera. I'll even tell you when to move and when to come back. Go ahead and start talking.
So I'm doing training a lot lately, and I'm working really hard to think about presence and how to be friendly and not
now move and check your
on the
audience.
computer, but I'm also finding this really hard to do, and everybody's looking at me. So
Okay, here's why. Ready? Pam, if you and I were out for a walk together, okay, and we're walking and we're having a happy hour together, and I said, oh my gosh, well, look over there at 2 o'clock at that squirrel that's jumping out of the tree. You wouldn't do this. You wouldn't go like that. You would go like this. You would move your whole head and shoulders. Part of the reason you look uncomfortable when you're looking at the other people is you're not moving your body. You're just moving your eyes. And so that creates this kind of odd feeling like, why is she just staring out of the sides of her eyes? Practice going, literally go there. Like, for example, I'm on camera right now. I'm talking to you. I'm going to go to the strip of people. Right now, I'm looking at Wendy. And so I can see Wendy's looking at me. I can tell she's paying attention. She's engaged. That's all I needed to know. I come back on camera, and now I'm here. But do you see how I didn't overdo it. I didn't like that. But I just moved my whole body. We don't look just with our eyes. We move our head. We move our shoulders. Be fully engaged, and that will make you look so much more comfortable so that every time you do go to the strip, everybody will look more comfortable. Try it.
Okay. Wait.
Yep. Start with me. Start with me.
So I'm looking over at you, and then I'm looking down at Chris.
Much better. Much better. And now come on camera. Come up to the camera. Ta-da! That's how a human being communicates. Very good.
The camera part is hard.
Here's maybe a little trick.
What was that?
Is there somebody in your life that makes you feel all warm and fuzzy? Child. I would take a picture, put a picture of their face literally right next to your camera. And then you can imagine you're talking to your favorite person.
That's what I was getting at with maybe moving at least a face, because there's no satisfaction in looking at a black dot. And I don't know how you guys do it when you're on camera all the time to make it feel so genuine.
Here's the technique. I want everybody to close their eyes. I want you to think of the one person in the course of your life, living, deceased, doesn't matter, who always gave you unconditional love. You could do no wrong in their eyes. Can you see that person? Can you see the color of their eyes? In a second, I'm going to ask you to open your eyes. When you do, I want you to put their eyes on the camera lens. Go ahead. because I've got Pam spotlighted. I want everybody to notice how Pam's facial structure has just softened immensely. Do you see how much more warm she is? And now her whole body's moving naturally, and now we're having a real conversation. Look, this technology is mind-bending and it's amazing. But at the end of the day, we're not communicating with technology. We're communicating with each other. And so the answer to your question, Pam, the way I've learned to look at a camera and look deeply into the camera is I see those eyes. I use my mom's eyes. Here's an interesting sociological observation I've made. And this is probably dangerous, but I've picked up on this around the country. Men tend to pick either their mom or their wife. Women will usually pick their dog over their husband. I don't know why. So do you see how, as I made Pam laugh and she moved and it was natural, how much more warm and connected you felt to Pam than when Pam was just trying to figure out, how do I look at everybody and still look normal? You just move normally. And then all of a sudden, that makes everybody feel more comfortable. The only way you get good at this is to practice. But if you can get good at this, I'm telling you, it's a difference maker. The perception becomes, wow, this person is really in control of this project. This person has their hand on what's going on. You become a lighthouse. People look to you as, hey, they can guide me through this because they clearly have it going on. Which you probably do, so why not create that perception in the first place? Any questions? That's the power of knowing where to look and how to get there. And the more you do it, the more your eye level, the more you're making eye contact, the more you're moving within the frame and you're doing it smoothly, all of a sudden you develop this gravitas and you have this natural body language. Body language is something we all speak. And even though you're within the frame, you do want to use your body language. You want to turn with your whole body. You want to move your whole head. If I'm a hand stalker, if you speak with your hands, use them. It's quite normal. Be careful of this one thing though. The camera distorts everything as objects get closer. Remember when years ago when the rear view mirror of your car had that little sign on it, objects are closer than they appear? Well, on Zoom, objects appear larger than they are. So if I start pointing at you like this, that gets very uncomfortable. We should probably never point to each other, but you just want to be careful not to like lean in because some things get like unusually large. Like, wow, that pen weighs 87 pounds. If you're demonstrating things, you just want to be careful because as you move to the camera, everything gets a little distorted. As you move away from the camera, things get equally distorted. So with your body language, you want to find your comfortable zone, which ironically is usually about 1 arm's length away from the camera. And then work this space, not this space. People often ask, should I be seated? Should I be standing? It literally doesn't matter to me. What matters is, where is your body language most natural? Andy stands more often than not. I usually sit, probably because I do a lot of football games seated. And I do my sportscast standing. So I'm equally comfortable in either medium. Most people are more comfortable in one than the other. And if you're not sure which one you're more comfortable in, record yourself. See which one you look more comfortable, more natural in. If you stand, just make sure the laptop comes up with you. You don't want to be standing up because I feel more comfortable like this. I do not want to present like this. I feel great because I can stretch my back, but this is not nearly as natural of an interaction as this. So just because you feel comfortable, make sure you're still communicating on brand with your core 4. Again, something just to play around with, put it out there, but let's practice. I want everybody to think of their core 4. And I'm going to put some adrenaline into your system. I'm going to spotlight Jeff. Jeff, what's your core 4?
Present, reliable, engaging, and I switched to decisive.
Okay.
Being decisive.
Present, reliable, engaging, decisive. So we've talked about Jeff's camera's a little too high.
I can stand up.
So yeah, try standing up. Play around with it. Raise
Bring
your
you with
camera.
me.
Try standing up.
I could, yeah. I don't know if that helps.
It does help.
Already.
Yeah.
Everybody feel the difference?
I'm a little
Yep.
close though.
So back up a little bit. Now tilt your camera back just a tiny bit. Give yourself a little bit more headroom. Boom.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
that's
all of a sudden, there's Jeff.
I'm
Ta-da.
present. I'm reliable.
You're literally present.
I'm
When you
decisive, damn it.
Yep, exactly. That's damn it, Jeff, right there. When you were in the seat and the camera was above you, you looked like you were just like this little guy who's
A little woodland creature.
right. And all of a sudden, you stand up, you open up, you have presence.
I was going to reach into the camera and help Jeff up.
Right. So again, the key thing here is this is on brand for Jeff. I'm not Moses. These aren't the 10 commandments. There's no rule that says you should only stand. You should only sit. No, it's what's your brand. Create the presence, the shot, the look that's on brand. Jeff now knows his look and he's on brand.
Right.
Simple.
And you're going to talk about lighting later, right? Because I got lighting
Correct.
questions.
Yep.
But
I'm going to dive into lighting in just a minute.
thank you.
Well done. All right, let's spotlight Lauren. So right out of the gate, what's wrong with Lauren's camera angle?
It looks like a helicopter's landing on her head.
Yep. She's looking down, and there's this distracting light and fan above her head, and we're super worried about, oh my God, is that the sword of Damocles coming down on poor Lauren? So no matter what she's talking about, we're not listening. So Lauren, let's get some books, get something underneath your laptop, get that laptop level up. You can use the lid of your laptop to raise and lower, to increase and decrease a little bit of headroom, but you have to actually raise and lower the whole laptop to get the eye level.
Oh, okay.
Much
There
better.
There we go.
My room.
Yeah. That's perfect,
Ta-da.
actually. Yeah.
Look
That's
at that.
perfect. Yeah.
Now she's no longer distorted. Now Lauren is a young professional who looks like she's on her game. Well done.
And we know she plays lacrosse.
Yes, I do.
Which I love. Okay, one of the things, we'll get into this, but I love the glimpse that we get into everybody's life. But by changing the angle, we now know Lauren's not in the ceiling fan business.
Nope.
She's a lacrosse player. Good job.
Thank you.
All right, Laura. So for Laura, the same thing. We want to raise Laura's laptop so her camera is more at eye level.
It's gonna be hard. It's funny because I'm staring at it and I feel like it is at eye level, but obviously it's not.
The dead giveaway, and that's why I say recording, you can tell from the lines behind you, they're all receding at an odd angle, and that creates a distortion.
There you go.
There you go.
Bam.
Yep.
And the one thing you can do here, Laura, is you can actually bring your laptop lid forward a little bit to reduce the amount of headroom you have.
Boom.
Bam. There it
And
is.
you can clothing, my laundry hat.
You know what? That's okay. You do this to find your shot, and then once you find your shot, you clean up your background to suit your brand. If your brand was wildly creative, free-flowing, anything goes, yeah, leave the laundry back there. If your brand is tight, tidy, neat, clean it up.
Jerry, do you mind if I share what we did with Trevor last call?
Go ahead.
So Chris will obviously hit home with Chris. Trevor Pitt, we did the same thing with him, and he started shifting stuff, and all of a sudden we started noticing all these cool things in the background. We're like, Chris, what's that? What's that? And what we realized is Chris is a leader, right? He's leading a team. It gets people to know you.
Right.
It led to a couple conversations out of, Chris, that's really cool. What's up on the wall? And now all of a sudden we instantly felt closer to Trevor. And
it was powerful.
Letting people see, yes, if you want to clean up clothes, whatever, but letting people see where you are actually creates more connection with those who you're trying to connect with.
Is
So
there
you
a
saw the-
difference? Oh, sorry,
Go ahead.
Chris.
No, go ahead, Jeff.
I was just gonna, is there a difference? Like I'm doing a presentation with a couple hundred people. Do I want them to see my son's desk behind me? Probably not. But if I'm in a more casual meeting like this, I mean,
So here's a perfect example,
you
Jeff.
draw lines. Yeah.
Yeah, just as when you made all those adjustments, my head, I don't know if anybody else did this, my head instantly went, huh, is Jeff a guitar guy?
Mm-hmm.
If I am, guess what?
Connection.
That's the power of it.
So it's better to do that, and for most meetings than having some virtual background, that kind of thing.
We'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
We'll get to this at 1,000%. You're going to hear me in a second. Never use a virtual background. I'll show you why in a minute. So as we look at Laura's background, notice there's great lines in here. There's great depth to that room. Think about Renaissance painters. Remember, you're in your college art classes. The great breakthrough when they went from Byzantine, where everything was two-dimensional and flat, to the Renaissance painters who created perspective and took a two-dimensional space and made it appear three-dimensional. Laura has done that with her shot by leveling her eyes with the camera. Now there's great perspective and it feels like she's in a three-dimensional space, even though we're talking on a laptop that's no thicker than your finger. That's
her
how
room
you create three-dimensionality and normalcy in this abnormal setting. Question.
It looks like like a fake background you see of those rooms because the dimensionality is perfect, like over your right shoulder there and all that.
Here's why it doesn't look like a virtual background. We're going to get into a second. Laura, go ahead and move your head. Just turn your head side to side.
Yeah, you're not getting the psychedelic
He
experience.
doesn't get the tear.
Right.
That's how we can tell it's real. Well done. Any questions?
I just wanted to say that the color is beautiful and it pops and it's on Laura's brand because she is very energy and warmth and it's perfect.
Yep.
Yeah, the
Again,
team
on
actually
brand.
got the color. She went and got the paint color and gave it to us all because we liked it.
Yeah. And I did choose this color. It's actually a room in my parents' home, but I chose the color of this room. It's mine.
There you go. So it's your brand. It's part of who you are. And now everything in your environment, your appearance is on brand, which means your perception is lined up with your reality. And you just eliminate a lot of misconfusion.
I'd love to just ask too, like, so I'm not, do you feel like I'm staring at you right now? Am I like making good eye contact right now?
Very good eye contact.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Because
perfect.
for me, what seems to work better is if I look down right below the camera and I actually move like just the bar of people right up, right below it, right? So that's where I often will try to look. So I was just curious.
Yeah. So here's the thing with looking into the camera versus off the camera. So when I look into the camera, and if you want to become more advanced at it, don't just look at the camera lens, look deep into the camera lens. Look almost like you're looking at the back of the camera lens. Notice when I do that, you and I are making eye contact. But if I look down at the strip just below it, because I'm not comfortable with the camera, after a while, we don't have that same connection because my eyes are not connecting with yours. Eye contact is king. We build trust around it. We follow people because of it. The expression is the eyes are the window of the soul. We evaluate people because of it. And if we can't see your eyes, if you're not willing to hold eye contact, it's much more difficult to exercise leadership leverage. Just a function of practice. The more you do it, the better you get at it. And the better you get at it, the more you have a competitive advantage over everybody else who's sitting the wrong way, who's lit the wrong way, who's got their camera the wrong way. Now you're not a distraction. You're somebody who's easy to be in a meeting with.
Mm.
Any other questions before we move on?
Actually, yeah, I do. So I very much talk with my hands and I move them around. And so I just want to make sure, like you're saying, don't put it here, but like out here is okay.
Fine. Totally fine. And look, it's not the end of the world if you do that once or twice. But just imagine there's like a plexiglass bubble around your laptop, around your keyboards. If you had that, you wouldn't be putting your hands in there. And it's not until you get over the keys that things get distorted. But as you talk out here, absolutely. Because if you move your hands, you'll move all of your body. And if you move all of your body, your tone of voice will move. And then you have a much greater chance of moving me. Simple as that.
Great, thank you.
Excellent. All right. Segues nearly into tone. Now that we have your setting right, now that we have you framed up, you're looking good, you're on brand, now your tone can really carry the day. So again, I want to practice with tone of voice. I want you to think about your core four. Take a minute right now and everybody look at your core four. Really feel, really connect with your core four. And notice which part of that core four is something that would be transmitted through tone. Who have we not called on a little bit? Pam. Go ahead and unmute.
Okay.
And tell us your core four.
Engaging, reliable, inclusive, and decisive.
Excellent. All right. So which of those do you think is most conveyed by tone of voice?
I'm going to say engaging because I
100%.
think you do need to change it up. You can't be all monotone, and it's like I want to reach to the screen and pull everybody into the room with me.
Exactly. And so the easy way to be more engaging with your tone of voice is, and we've already covered this for you, is to be more engaging with your body. Tone of voice and body language are connected on the pyramid. And the reason for that is if you move your body, your voice will follow. And if you ever get into a meeting, a training, a presentation where you just feel like, God, I'm flat as can be, move. Even if it's just moving your toes and your feet out of frame. Even if it's taking your hands out of the frame for a second and squeezing them. Get something moving on your body and your tone of voice will follow. It's impossible to really get moving. If you want to kind of have fun with this, play around with this off camera. Really get moving and try to sound dull. It's hard to do. Or put a giant smile on your face and try to sound irritated. Can't do it.
I think I have the opposite problem though, where I get amped up and I'm going too fast and I'm excited and passionate, and people will say that, and I think that reinforces I want to keep doing more of that, but it's too much sometimes.
What you just did there was not too much.
Right.
Okay.
It was very authentic. It was very natural. It was very engaging.
Okay.
And it was very much your brand. Give yourself the permission to move. And I kind of noticed this when we were going through our last exercise. You have a lot more latitude to move inside your frame than you've been giving yourself.
Yeah.
You've been letting the frame squeeze you like a vice. Yeah. Go ahead and use the whole frame. Move it around. Use your hands to tell your story. You know, there's 3 levels to this program. We're going to stretch it out over the next couple of weeks. Get into it. What you just shared with us was totally on brand. Well done. Let's go to Wendy. What's your core 4, Wendy?
My core 4 are confident, compassionate, and insightful.
So compassion and confidence are going to be big tone drivers. One of the first things I want to do is I want to get your camera angle a little higher and a tiny bit less headroom. So bring your laptop up, and then there you go. Perfect. And then your lid forward. Good. Much better. Good. Excellent. Okay. So confidence for you is going to come largely from inflection. There's 3 major inflections: upward inflection, dangling inflection, downward inflection. We use an upward inflection when we're asking a question. Hey, what time does the company arrive? How many people are in this group? How much does this cost? We use a downward inflection when we are asserting authority that we know what we're talking about. We've lived in this house for 31 years. I've known Jack since we were 2. Hear the difference? Mm-hmm. Frequently when people, I ask their core 4, they'll say confidence, surety, leader, bold. And the message is none of the above. Mm-hmm. Tone sits under words. So your words either rest perfectly on your tone, or tone hides your words. And we never hear your words because we heard your tone.
Okay.
So for you, Wendy, practice downward inflections.
Okay.
Practice saying things with authority. Bring your think of the sentence having a period at the end, and there's a magnet that whoop, brings it down. And the easiest way to do that is just record yourself talking, and you'll start to hear where you have natural upward inflections.
Okay.
And then intentionally bring those down.
Okay.
I want to go to Lauren. From Lauren to Lauren.
Thank you.
Lauren, this is something that younger people tend to struggle with in the workspace.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying you do, but tone should never be apologetic. What's your core for?
Passionate, creative, exuberant storyteller, confident about my work, and organized.
Okay, how many of you believe she's confident about her work? Sort of, maybe, kind of, because those were dangling inflections.
Okay.
Confident about my work, this and that, sort of that. You're neither here nor there. Bring it down. Confident about my work.
Okay.
I'm a terrific lacrosse player. I am a 21-year-old boss. I am a woman to be reckoned with. That sounded kind of weird coming from me, but I said it with such authority, you believed it. So that's the power of tone. A 58-year-old white guy can say, I am a woman to be reckoned with. And you're damn right you are, Jerry, you go. And that's what I want you to do. So as you go into the work world, your tone is going to, you don't want it to be arrogant. You don't want to be, I'm Superwoman, hire me, you idiot. But you want to carry yourself with a confident tone of voice so that people sense that, hey, she believes in herself, I'll believe in her.
It also conveys passion.
Yeah. People lose their footing when they show up hoping people like them, hoping people will hire them, hoping things will go their way, instead of showing up with a sense of, hey, I belong. I am good in this space. I know what I'm doing. And then that is what attracts other people to them. Confidence is key, and that's how you convey that downward inflection. So I want everybody to really think about downward inflections as they deliver their core four. Chris, we haven't heard from Chris in a little bit.
Uh-oh.
Where's Chris? Let me find
He's
Chris.
right here. Hello.
Where are you hiding, Chris? There you are.
Okay. What do you got there, Jerry?
Core four.
I want to be seen as someone with integrity. I would also like to be seen as wise. I think the gray hair kind of helps with that, but that's not the tell-all. I want to be seen as fair but firm. And I want to be working to be a good listener and have others realize that I am.
Excellent. So listening, and your first one again?
Integrity.
Integrity. Listening and integrity are going to be foundational. Those will become relationship or reputation. You will build those over time. You cannot do that with appearance or with tone. Matter of fact, the absence of all tone, of all noise, is the only thing that will help establish you as a listener. You are correct. Having silver gray hair is a great thing for wisdom. My consulting work increased dramatically once I just let my hair go gray. This is not intended as a sexist comment. It's just the weird nature of our society. Men tend to do better with gray hair than women from a perception standpoint. Men tend to feel better about themselves with gray hair than some women. But some women who've learned to rock it, game changer. The color of your hair is all about how you feel about it, not how others feel about it. And that's conveyed more through your tone of voice, your level of comfort with yourself, than just your appearance. But if you match the appearance with the tone of voice, money. Doesn't matter if your hair is blue, gray, green, black, orange, or all the above. If your tone is comfortable with your appearance, people connect and feel really good about it.
So you're saying my screw cancer shirt doesn't cut it?
No, I think it actually cuts it very good, because that's very much part of who you are.
That's right.
You're a proud cancer survivor who has great presence, and you are slightly off center as far as PC, I'm going to guess.
Absolutely.
Yep. So that's it's part of your brand. That is on brand. What I do want to do is I want to raise your laptop just a tiny little bit.
I might struggle with that.
And if you can't do it tonight, just play around with doing it so that you can do it in the future.
Yep. Yeah, I threw it together tonight. Sorry.
That's fine. That's fine. I just wanted to say, because the background's good. Wisdom, look, he's got a stacked bookshelf behind him. That's great for a guy whose brand is wisdom. I love that. Frames up really nice. A lot of energy. Good look. Tone of voice is going to be very important for you, especially with the part that you are at the opposite end of the work spectrum from Lauren. Lauren has to come in sounding very confident of herself. You look super confident. You're an accomplished guy. You've got a million things done. The last thing in the world I expect is to hear a lack of confidence from you. What I want to hear from you is a level of empathy and understanding from you, because that's something that's usually lacking from people who are wise and accomplished. That's going to be part of what you want to establish with your tone of voice. So you can see how everybody's tone of voice plays out a little bit differently. Amy, we haven't touched base with you for a little while. What's your core 4?
Sure. So my my core 4 is compassionate, strategic innovator, authentic leader, and empowering rebel.
I love it.
I was trying to get that tone just perfect for you.
And you did. And because of that, I believe you are an empowering rebel. And again, that's your reality. That's who you are. Your tone creates the perception that brings me in the door right to who you are. So instead of you being mousy and unsure sounding, where I think, oh yeah, Amy's some mousy, unsure professional, right out of the gate, I know Amy is an empowering rebel. It's one of my favorite core 4 phrases I've heard in a while. That's a really good one. Cool background, good backdrop. I would use a little less headroom. Bring your frame up a little bit.
Okay.
Like I did there. Just play around with that a little bit. And you've got it going. Oh, very good. Right there. Perfect. See how strong she is? An empowering rebel has to have a strong settings, strong background, and a strong tone of voice. Once we get all that right, it's not that words don't matter, but once we get all that right, people hear our words and they hear them faster, so we don't need as many words. And as we communicate more effectively with fewer words, we build a reputation as great communicators, which all great leaders are. Well done. Now for the next fun level. Backgrounds. So you just saw firsthand how backgrounds affect the way you perceive people. There's nothing morally wrong with virtual backgrounds. It's actually a fairly ingenious, feature that Zoom came out with, and you can have a lot of fun. And if you're doing a family call or you're doing a group party or something like that, it's a super casual fun thing, go ahead and have fun with them. I don't care. But in a professional setting where you are trying to reinforce your brand, these are not an asset for a couple of reasons. Notice how flat it is. Remember we talked about perspective? These are impossible to create great perspective because they're artificial looking. Nobody in this group has artificial or fake in their core 4. And even if you have a really, really cool design one like this one, it's great for a still shot, but it doesn't work in reality because when you're using a virtual background, every time your head or body moves, there's that tear. If you look at the recording from last week, you'll see it with Jeff, because Jeff had a white shirt on, and when he moved, there would be a tear, and half of his body would disappear. That adds to the frame sync stress on your brain, and that makes a Zoom call much, much more taxing on you mentally than an in-room call. So keep virtual backgrounds to super casual, fun things that you're playing around with, but nothing business-wise where you're reinforcing your brand. I heard a question.
Yeah, Jeff, I also found I was wearing a shirt, I don't know if it was with you all, but I had this shirt that had really fine stripe print on it, and I noticed when it looked psychedelic, like it was like I had ants crawling all over me, and I remember hearing you should wear solid colors and not like crazy patterns because it creates the same effect.
Because yeah, with the virtual background, matter of fact, the only time a virtual background has any shot of working is if you use it while you are sitting or standing in front of an actual green screen.
Yeah.
They're designed to use in front of green screens. So the likelihood that you have an actual professional green screen is pretty slim, but even then it's hard to create the depth that our mind craves that a real background gives us. So just take Jeff, and I think Jeff's a great example. Think of Jeff last week. I think he had a virtual background and he was tearing as he moved, and the camera was looking down on him. Jeff stands up. He has on-camera presence. He has a real background. There's this really cool guitar, as opposed to the virtual background that he has now. Let me spotlight Jeff. So I'm going to stop sharing for a second.
Can you guys see my virtual?
Let me spotlight you so everybody sees you.
Yeah. Yeah. The virtual is just.
Go ahead back to your virtual, Jeff.
Can you see it?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, and I thought lighting would help, so I had like a lighting thing, but that doesn't even help.
So go ahead and move around. Stay in the virtual, move around. I want everybody to see this. See that tear behind him?
Well, it's the other is when you get your shoulders and stuff.
And that wreaks havoc on your brain.
Yeah, I don't like looking at myself when I do that, but.
Yep. And so the main reasons people use virtual backgrounds is A, they don't know that they're off brand because they don't understand brand, or B, maybe they're not comfortable with their living space, or that they have a mess behind them or something. Minimize your mess, clean up your space. It doesn't have to be an elaborate space, but if you can create some three-dimensionality and authenticity, it almost always serves your brand better than something fake.
Can I ask a question about that? Just
Absolutely.
Because part of our work, we have been encouraged to use the backgrounds like you see on Lisa or Elizabeth's. And so I was just curious, is there any insight that if you have to use a background, any tips or tricks for us, for those of us who might have to use one for national consulting things?
So the first tip is have your boss call me and I will walk them off that ledge.
Awesome.
Gee, do you know any of our bosses, Jerry?
I think he might.
I do know most of your bosses now that you mentioned it. And typically it's because your bosses are not aware of some of the things we've talked about. Sometimes they're not aware of the brand. They're definitely not aware of the perception, and they're not aware that you're actually undermining that perception. So let's, for example, on my screen, I have Amy next to Aaron. Now, Amy and Aaron are both these very competent, excellent professionals. Amy's in a real setting, and Aaron is in front of a virtual setting in San Francisco.
Yes.
I'm going to guess that's a virtual setting. Aaron, unless there's something going on behind you that you for understandable reasons we should never see.
He did buy a penthouse apartment in San Francisco. He didn't tell us.
Right. Go ahead and let's see your real background.
Hold on. Yeah. It's just that.
Okay, I'm going to spotlight you. That's fine. Perfect. Now, raise your camera level so that you're more eye contact.
There you go.
And when we get to the next section, which is on lighting, I much prefer this. It's a monochromatic background. It's a real background, and the focus is going to be on you. You're going to have to bring your laptop up like this and look directly into the camera.
Right.
Because here, for the first time, I recognize Aaron is a guy who's got a rockin' beard. Like the previous time, all I saw was the fake background. I was like, I can't stand those backgrounds. But now I can actually get to know Aaron instead of, why is he using this fake San Francisco background? And now he can come across more authentic. What's your core four?
It's insightful, engaging, relevant, and kind.
There you go. Relevant and authentic go hand in hand, and you're being kind by not using a virtual background.
Exactly.
Good job. So anyway, Amy, back to your question about if bosses say you have to use that, use the most simple one you can find, and ideally something that has some lines that point to a perspective point behind you. I don't mean like a fake Mona Lisa. I mean literally like the simplest room possible.
There are a few that look like a real room that people have said that's a fake, and I'm like, I had no idea. So maybe
Yep.
those are the better
Yeah,
ones.
yeah.
You can find some of those, but again, Pam, what you'll see is they'll tear when you move your head.
Yeah.
Simple, a little bit of depth, and if at all possible, if you have a green screen, then you can pull it off. Otherwise, it's not going to be nearly as effective as just having some depth. So with where Aaron is sitting, if he wants to create a little depth, if he just angles it so that the corner of the room is behind him, it'll create some depth to his room. Keep going. Keep going. And then you just scooch over there. You keep going. There you go. That's how you create depth, and that is much more relaxing to your mind.
And Jerry, to Pam's point, if you see somebody who's got a background virtual and it looks perfect, you don't see the tear, it is because they're using a green screen of some sort. They're not just using the generic or general Zoom virtual settings they give you.
I want you to see the way backgrounds affect your perception of people. 3 of these are actually real backgrounds on the upper left-hand corner. That's a very simple, plain background. There's nothing wrong with the background. But when you put it with this guy's disdainful body language and his boring appearance, it's a very bland impact. The guy in the lower left is either a Unabomber or has lived in mommy's basement way too long. The person in the upper right is so like off-putting, post-apocalyptic. I don't know what the message is there, but I don't want anything to do with it. And the guy in the lower right is just your basic schlub who has spent too much time in isolation and forgot the fact that we still have to shave, we still have to comb our hair, we still have to wear deodorant, we still have to come across as professional. You have no idea what the story is behind any of these 4 people, but notice how quickly you form perceptions of all of them and that they are all tending towards the negative side. That's why your appearance is so important. That's why your background is so important. That's why your setting carries so much weight in Zoom. And that's why real is better than fake. So this is Mike Elias, the Orioles general manager. I just grabbed a screenshot out of a Zoom call he was doing. And I like this because it's not an elaborate background, but there's clean lines, there's obvious depth, and it looks real. And that feels a whole lot better than any of those. So you don't have to hire a Hollywood stage set to come in and do it. Just try to be real, create depth, and you'll be amazed at how it keeps you on brand. All right, let's talk lighting. Lighting is the difference maker. And I'm going to give you the simplest little formula. You'll never be able to forget it, and you'll see it where it's done wrong all the time. It's called the lighting triad. And it starts fittingly with the light. The light source, then the camera, then you. Always follow the triad. Here's what it looks like in real life. Doesn't mean you need elaborate lights. This is natural light. That's the light source. The camera is on the computer, then the person. Light, camera, you. The easy way to remember this, just remember the phrase lights, camera, action. Light, camera, you. Too often people get it backwards and it comes out like this. These people are backlit. And when you're backlit, you see everything fine, but everybody sees you looking like this. This is me backlit. Now you can't really see my face. We don't connect. And because we don't connect, you can't see my face, it changes your perception. Even though it's still perfectly good for me. Matter of fact, it's a better view for me because I've got good light behind me. My light source is a natural light source. Once I put that light, camera, me, now I'm properly lit. You can do it with artificial lighting as well. If you look over there, I've got a ring light. I use that for my television broadcast because that's a really bright light. But on nights, if there's a thunderstorm or it gets dark, when I'm doing programs this time of the night, I'll use the ring light sometimes because that'll keep me lit. Always remember the triad: light, camera, you. So let's go through everybody real quickly. I'm going to see how everybody's looking.
I just changed mine.
Yeah, I just changed mine too.
Yep. And look at the, oh my God, Jeff, look at the difference in you.
Yeah, I mean, I can just move this light now and you guys can see.
Yep.
So
just literally, you just play around with it. You just play around with it and record it. Because the key thing is the way other people feel when they look at you. Okay, look at this. Okay, Jeff has made an unbelievable transformation. Now we're seeing
I'm a good-looking guy.
Yep. What's kind of going on, right? We're starting to see the cues on the wall behind him. We've got the depth of the guitar. Jeff has real presence, and he no longer looks like he's sitting at the kids' Thanksgiving dinner table waiting for somebody to bring him a scrap of food. He now looks like a professional with presence.
I just got to talk to my son about his desk. That's all.
Honestly, it doesn't bother me in the least. That shot looks really good. Well done. All right, Pam. Nice.
I have an overhead light that I think is messing things up.
Yep. It
I
is.
just painted this room and it's really dark, but I love it.
Yeah.
So it's okay.
The dark walls in the back are perfect.
Okay.
So just get another light that you put next to or right behind your computer.
And I have a lamp.
You're getting there. So all you have to do is play around with it. Here's another way to add a little light to yourself. Do you have an iPad?
I don't.
If you have an iPad, brighten the iPad screen, and that adds a little light. You can also get a little tiny, I just showed you my ring light. You can get a little tiny ring light for like $49 that you can clip to the top of your laptop so that you can adjust the lighting, and that way, no matter where you are on the road, in a different room, in the office, you'll always have good light.
Okay.
And for you, I think that might work really, really well. But that's a great backdrop. It's a great room. It's a great look. And now that you've learned how to move within the frame, you've got it going on.
Thank you.
Aaron, let's play with your lighting a little bit. Again, we want to get the camera up. And you don't have to do it tonight, but play around with it so that your camera comes up. Do you see how Aaron's video looks a little bit grainy? Anytime you see that, it's only one of two things. It's because the lighting isn't quite good enough or the internet connection is not good enough. So here's a fun little game to play in your own room because you don't see your own space the way other people do. Just swivel around the room and see if there's a better angle to get light on you.
Oh, let's see something. If I move this way, it's because it's a little more natural light here, the window.
Okay, here's another one. Aaron, open up those blinds.
Oh, yeah.
And watch what happens. The lighting in the room's going to change.
Yep.
Now, there's your light source. Put the computer in between the window and you. Turn and face the computer. Keep coming, keep coming, keep coming.
So much better.
So much better.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. There you go. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
There it is. Graininess is disappearing. You are emerging. I'm getting to know you as a person, and now we can connect.
Same thing with Zach. Zach's got that light source. Oh, it's Zach. Yeah.
Let's bring Zach up. So Zach, that's called side lighting.
Yeah.
When the danger of that side lighting and backlighting can be done in a very artful way, but if they're super, super bright, our eye goes right to that, and we don't look at Zach. And so I want Zach, he can do a couple different things. Close your blinds.
They actually are closed. That's a bad thing.
Then in that case, are you on a desktop computer?
I've got my laptop and I've got a desktop with a station on here. Yeah.
So swivel around and put the window, laptop, you, and wait. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Bam. There you go. Now all you have to do is shut the door behind you, and you get your shot. You don't even look like the guy we met in session.
Looks like a brand new man.
There it is.
There it is. Yep.
Ta-da. Now take away some of the headroom. Bring your seat up, your laptop lid down. And there you go.
And that's
Background,
totally
ladies
different.
and gentlemen.
I feel like I just met Zach for the first time.
Amen.
Yeah. It makes a big difference.
It's a huge difference, and everybody can feel it. That's the power of it. So even though, Zach, nothing about your professional expertise in the construction world has changed, everything about your perception has changed. And now you look the part. That's the power of it. Who else wants to play around? Elizabeth. Okay, so perfect. Elizabeth, as she moves her head, we see that tear. And that's undermining the authenticity. Even though it's a really pretty shot, the Washington, D.C., the Washington Monument. If that were a real shot, it would be unbelievable. It'd be great.
You
What
see, I
room
got
is it?
two beds in my background.
That's all right. So just pull the chair down, play around with your lighting. You're not going to get it all done right now. And then let's get you up higher. Right now the camera
The chair
lens.
doesn't go any higher. So I have two screens and the camera's on top of the screen.
So just humor me for a second or two. Stand up.
That's it.
Much better. Oh my God, I'll take that every day. There it is. Elizabeth, the difference of you there and you with the Washington Monument behind you tearing, that's fantastic. Does everybody feel the difference when they see Elizabeth like that? Did I just freeze?
Absolutely.
I think Elizabeth froze.
I think
but yeah,
Elizabeth froze,
you can
yeah.
actually see
Absolutely.
a person as opposed to some silhouette or something that you're trying to make your mind turn into a person.
Right. And so Elizabeth, what you've done there is we have great depth. That's a really cool room. I don't know what room in that house that is, but that's a really cool room. It's got depth. It's got lines. And now all of a sudden I can focus on you and I can connect with you and your excellence can come through. And now as you move your head, ta-da, no tear. So here's a really cool thing with Elizabeth. So a little ring light would work really well. If you ever hear the phrase backlighting can be a bad thing if it's too light, if it's too strong. With Elizabeth, no, keep what you have. I want to show people what actual backlighting is. Do you see how Elizabeth has like this really cool halo around her hair? That's what backlighting will do. Backlighting gives depth to the room and it illuminates your hair. She just needs a tiny bit more light in the front, and you can play around with this, and then she has it perfect.
Yeah, I've got a corner in the room so I've got a permanent desk that I can't move. So I have to figure out how to get light.
Yeah, so just play around with it because you've got the shot. You have the shot right there. Much better, much better. Let's go to Wendy. So Wendy's light over her left shoulder is super bright. And what that's doing is it creates a little pixelation, a little gradient. Just for grins, turn that light off.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah, you're gonna love the shot. This is gonna be a much better shot. Now shift you see how much better lit she is right out of the gate. Your light source is coming from the right side of your face.
Yep.
So just
the window right there.
perfect. So rotate so your full face gets the light. Just rotate to your right just a little bit. Your other right.
My other right.
There you go. Right there. Right there.
Okay.
Ta-da! There it is. That's all you got to do.
Jerry, is it? So I have a little lamp right here. Well, is a ring light going to be softer? Because after looking at that for a little bit, I kind of get a little headache in there. So is it?
The ring light will be softer, and you can angle the ring light so that it's not directly in your face.
Okay, cool.
The ring light is a very bright light, so you just kind of put it off to the side a little bit, and you can play around with the angle so that you're not getting retina destruction.
Yeah.
Good.
Cool, thanks.
Much better shot, Wendy. Much better shot.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go to Amy. Good. So Amy's got side light.
Yep.
Coming in off of your right side.
I have a ring that I use earlier in the day, but I usually don't use it at this time.
The ring lights at night can be tricky, and that's why I'm not using mine right now because they can be overpowering. But what will work for your ring is if you take your ring light and bounce it off the wall to your left, it should give you just the right lighting.
I'm going to try it right now. Let's see. Yikes.
So
Okay, so we bounce it where?
Just bounce it. Put the wall. Imagine you're illuminating the wall,
Mm-hmm.
and that way the light from the right will balance the right from the left, and we'll see more of you.
Ah, okay, let's see.
Because I really like this shot.
Better
Much
or
better.
no?
There it is. No, much better. There it is.
And mine was $17 on Amazon. So
there you go.
you
So
don't even have
email
to
Wendy and she'll give you the link. They're
I will.
$17.
I'll share.
I mean, how cool is that? And now Wendy's got this great backdrop. She looks really good, and she can hold the room. And that's all we're trying to do. Well done. Everybody see the difference? Lauren, I want to go to you because we need some light on that face.
Yeah. So my room has like this light,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't have like a desk light.
$17. I want you to call Amy and get the ring light. That's all you need. Literally, that's all you need. Everything else is fine.
Maybe we can get a group discount.
Exactly. We'll all buy them. We'll all buy them. Good. Guys, the difference is powerful, and the impact it has on the perception, you're all now very much on brand. So I want to give you a little template to help you run a Zoom meeting, to help your people avoid Zoom fatigue. Pam, I think this is going to be right in your wheelhouse with training. But for everybody who has to do a lot of Zoom meetings, you're going to use the game frame one more way. And the way you use it is to take all of the things that could be a part of this meeting and you game frame through them to determine what are the 3 key agenda items I need in this meeting today. You can brainstorm out a list of 9 of them. And if you want, we'll do one real quick. Who's got a meeting coming up? Nobody has a meeting coming up?
No.
Amy.
And you mean a meeting versus like a presentation?
Yep, I mean a meeting.
training.
This is a meeting. You can do it as a presentation. The same technique will work, but most people are doing a ton of Zoom meetings, so I want to share a way to do a Zoom meeting. You know what, Pam? I'm going to have you do it, even though it's a presentation.
Okay.
Give me a list. Give me a list of agenda items or a list of items you might have in a training.
List of agenda items. Readiness for change.
Okay.
Understanding readiness for change. Explaining the spirit of motivational interviewing. Identifying change talk. And using the specific skills. And implementing the skills.
Keep going.
Oh, do you put like breaks in there too? Those are on my agendas.
Don't worry.
So would I say break?
No. Just you give me any topics. Give me all the topics. We're just brainstorming out the topics.
Other topics. Empathy. Having empathy. My gosh, you guys who do this topic with me, I'm blanking.
Goal setting.
Goal setting, perfect.
Goal
Excellent.
setting.
Okay.
Okay.
So now I'm doing it manually. I'm just running out a quick game frame for you. Readiness. What was the first one? Readiness change?
Readiness for change.
Readiness for change or explaining motivational interviews. Which is, if you could only have one of these items, which would you have?
Readiness for change.
Readiness. Change talk or specific skills?
Change talk.
Implementing skills or empathy?
Empathy.
Goal setting gets a bye. Readiness for change or change talk?
Change talk.
Empathy or goal setting?
Empathy.
Change talk or empathy?
Empathy.
Implementing skills or goal setting?
Implementing the skills.
Implementing the skills or change talk?
Change talk.
Specific skills or readiness for change?
Specific skills.
Specific skills or implementing skills?
Implementing skills.
So by using the game frame, Pam just came up with empathy, change talk, and implementing the skills. Even though she told me at the top of her head, it was readiness for change, explaining motivational interviews, and change talk. That's the power of the game frame. No matter how you use it, it's always going to prioritize things. So now she has her 3 main agenda items. And I will be emailing everybody this later tonight. It's a little Zoom meeting agenda template I came up with that honors the short cycle learning we talked about last time, in that people only have so much capacity. So rather than dump content, build it to their capacity. So item 1 for Pam would be around empathy. She can then figure out some interaction, some activities, some Q&A, some demonstrations to get people involved. Because when people get involved, they empty their cup and they increase their ability to hold more capacity. So when you do empathy, empathy is your first agenda. Pam, you're probably going to explain it. You're going to probably show some things. What are some things you can do to create engagement and interaction to get people to empty their capacity and be ready for more?
That's where I usually bring out scenarios, or I ask them, what are some times where it's really hard to maintain empathy?
Excellent.
And it's funny because that's a backdrop of this whole topic of motivational interviewing. So it's helping me prioritize, I guess.
Yep.
If you will.
And it's going to help you from dumping too much content on the people who then lose sight of what's going on. Think of the way we did launch. And I joked about it earlier. If we would have done all 6 hours in one full day session on Zoom, you would have wasted the back 4 hours because you just couldn't contain it. But this way, you're pouring to capacity. And what I call stop pouring, you're getting people involved. You're showing them a video. You're asking questions. You're running a poll. Think of all the different things you can do to get people out of just being passive attendees. So you get through that part of it. If you want to build a break, you can. If not, now you're into change talk. Again, you don't have to follow this verbatim. It's just there to prompt you. Present your content, create some interaction, workshop it, show a demonstration. Andy and I could have very easily just said, here's the lighting triad, always do that. And it would have been 3 minutes, very easy. I could have shown you a video, here's a couple people doing it right. But the power came for each of you watching each other's call of their shot become transformed. And as you watch that from everybody else, once the point was made through that transition, now you are ready to move forward to this part of the program. That's what short cycle learning is all about. And the more you think as a presenter, as a meeting coordinator, as a leader in short cycle learning, the less you're going to see spilling over the cup of the people you're sharing content with. So Pam gets to her.
Say whatever you pick as your top 3, any content should be part of that or get rid of it. Is that kind of what you're saying?
100%. And you will be frustrated because there's so much you want to give, but that's pouring more content. Yeah. Zoom has a smaller capacity than Room. And as you develop the discipline to pour to capacity, not to content, your audience will love you for it.
Eric, can I ask a question?
Please do.
It's Jeff. Previously, you had mentioned one way, because I'm one of the giant, I bring like a truck full of water. I'm ready to, dump it. You had mentioned giving people different types of handouts, less on the PowerPoints, more in the handouts that you reference people to, or if you have those content hounds, they can just go there and dig all they want.
Yep.
Same thing in the Zoom world.
Totally same thing in the Zoom world. Matter of fact, I always give out handouts after the fact, because the second you give people something to put in front of them, they do this. And that you may have been intrigued if I gave you this handout for the agenda template ahead of time, and we're talking about lighting, you might be looking at the agenda template and completely miss the lighting.
The other thing we're seeing is giving people videos to watch, the flipped classroom stuff, giving people videos to watch before you engage with them. How does all that, any suggestions there? I don't know, Pam, if you're doing
I have
that
a
with
couple
your
different
group.
views on that. I put out a video for after each of the last 2 modules. Did everybody watch those?
No, a content video that you don't share during the session.
Right. And that's what I did. I put out a content video after each of the last 2 modules to reinforce those modules. And I can tell from the data, like maybe a third of the people watch them. That's
Oh,
fine.
I thought those were recordings of this. Oh, okay.
No. If you go back and look at those, and I can resend them if you want. I shot like a 4 or 5 minute video after module 1 just to reinforce some points. And then I shot another 4 or 5 minute video after module 2 that I walked you through my week planning process in one area to show you that in person.
Yeah.
And that's what happens with a lot of handouts and a lot of videos is, oh, I didn't know that was what it was, right? People, it gets lost in the translation sometimes. So what I find is most effective, Jeff, is give multiple forms of reinforcement in multiple stages, because some of it's going to fall through the cracks regardless.
And Jerry, here's a great example if I could share. I'm running a virtual mastermind right now, and the 2 hours I get with them every other week, I want to make it as engaging as I can where they're interacting with each other. So what I'm doing on the off weeks is I am creating a content video that includes more learning, but they can watch it on their own time, when they want, where they want, because I want to make sure the call itself gives people the chance to interact with each other versus me teaching for 2 hours.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to move towards, and it's interesting.
The trick, Jeff, is you can't presume any more than I did that people are going to watch everything, they're going to read everything. The reality of it is 80% of them are going to cram the night before, and only a little bit of that is going to stick. So it's okay to give a little bit up front, but just telegraph it, let them know, hey, this is coming up front. Expect some people to miss it, and then give it again on the backside, which is why in the follow-up video I sent out to everybody so that you know about it, I'm going to send you a copy of the agenda template you see up on the screen, and I will resend you the links to the 2 videos that I put out to reinforce modules 1 and 2. And if you watch the way I deliver those videos, that will reinforce module 3. Good? So look for that. Look for that in your email. So Pam, that's a way to build your online programs, your Zoom programs, whether it's a meeting, whether it's a training session, but to have the forced discipline of pouring to capacity instead of content.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, gang, time to start wrapping things up as we take it home here on launch. Here's the journey we've been on. You now know your brand. And now that you're clear on your brand, as that brand becomes second nature to you, do everything to support the brand. Whether that is your business card, whether that's your background on a Zoom call, whether that is your stationery, anything that other people interact with that represents you, make it on brand. It won't all be on brand, but now you'll know if it's off brand. If it's off brand, adjust. If it's on brand, do more. Prioritize your roles and your activities. You're always going to have more to do than you have time to get done. Work on the top priority. When the top priority is done, number 2 becomes number 1. If you spend the majority of your time working on the top priorities, you're still going to have the crises mixed in. You're still going to have to deal with the things that are interruptions and unplanned. But over a period of time, you'll start to get the big things done, and you will feel so much more on course with your career and with your life. And as a leader, communicate consistently and authentically and on brand. And understand this, as a leader, you're always communicating, even when, and especially when you're not talking. And I want to point out the success story of Jeff. Think of Jeff when he was with us as an attendee in Module 1. And think of Jeff that we saw tonight. Think of Zach from Module 1. Look at Zach tonight. Look at the difference. at the presence, at the perception these guys are now making intentionally and authentically. Brand, priority, communication. That triad is what great leadership careers are built out of. And as you do more and more and more, you'll know you're completely on course. When at the end of a Zoom meeting, and it'll happen for all of you now that you've done this, in the next couple of weeks, you're going to hear this. Somebody's going to say to you, wow, you should work in television. You're a natural at this. At which point you just look at them and say, you're right. Hey, before we go, I don't mind taking some extra time. I want to honor everybody's time. We're at 8 o'clock, so feel free if you have to drop off. But first, Andy and I want to thank you for being with us. It's been a total privilege to share this journey with you. And I'm happy to go through any questions that anybody may have, anything we covered you're confused on, anything you'd like to tackle.
So I just had a logistics question. Do you all give like certificates or anything for this when we finish?
We can. I never really thought about it. But
okay.
Like what, CREs?
Well, yes, CRE or just like literally just like a regular certificate, like a piece of paper.
Yeah, you know what? We can definitely do that. Absolutely.
Okay.
Like an attendance.
Yep.
Or completion, something like that.
Completion. Yep. Exactly.
Totally would do that.
That would be great for the National Council people, at least.
Terrific. That way you can use that to apply for CRE. Absolutely. I will put that on the list. No problem. Happy to.
Okay.
I will put that on the list. Certificate.
This is Jeff. I had a question. I don't know if we have time for it, but the brand piece, I just keep looking at my brand, and does brands naturally change over time, but always stay within kind of the same space? Or how does it evolve if you really start focusing on it?
So your brand will not change week to week, but it may change over the course of the year, over the course of years. And especially now as you're new to playing around with it and brainstorming it up. And now that you've experienced yourself very much in a different way in terms of your perception, that might evolve it. It'll change more here in the next 6 months than it will in the following 6 months. And then every year or so, you want to revisit that to make sure that's still your brand. You know, jobs change, relationships change, our age changes. We're at a different point in our life. Chris talked earlier about how, you know, wisdom is a part of his brand now. Well, maybe that wasn't part of his brand 30 years ago. It's a slower moving river that changes over time. It shouldn't be changing every hour, every week, but it does evolve and it does change, especially as your aspirations evolve.
And does your brand of who you are as a person with your family and friends, should you try to align that with your job facing brand? Is that, or does it matter?
It is my belief you should.
Okay.
It is my belief.
Feels that way, yeah.
Yeah. So Gandhi, I'm a big reader and I love a lot of different Eastern philosophies. And Gandhi had a belief that you cannot compartmentalize your life. You cannot be a father who's a good man, a neighbor who's a conscientious person, a moral individual over here, and then a backstabbing SOB who just wants to make the highest profit possible over there. He said, we take who we are everywhere we go. So why not take that authentically into all avenues of our life? And you'll find that each of those avenues hold you to a higher standard. Like for me, this is like some personal stuff for me. For me, being a father keeps me so much more in line with who I want to be, because I have my children who are adults now who I have to face and I have to live up to. And I set a standard that I want to be the person that is a lighthouse for them. And so that helps me make a lot of decisions that if I were just a single guy who'd never been married, never had kids, I'm afraid to think what my brand would be.
Jerry,
So I believe who you are as a person should carry into the work world.
why did you say our brand will change more in the next 6 months than it will after? Because we're not
Just
more
because
brand.
you're new to the concept of it and you're getting acquainted with it and you've learned how to brainstorm, and over the next 6 months, you're going to have ideas that you're going to want to redo your brainstorm list. You're going to see things, you're going to come across like, you know what, I am a funny person. I should put entertaining. And so you're going to play with it. And then you'll know when it clicks, because you just feel it. It's like, wow, it's like the first time you put on a perfect fitting piece of clothing, you're like, whew, that's perfect.
Well, to
But
your
those
and
slides have changed a little bit.
to your point you made in the first module, Jerry, with the foundational and the aspirational. Foundational probably won't change much at all, but your aspirational brand could definitely change over time.
And now that, take Jeff, perfect example, while we have you up here on the spotlight. Now that you've seen just how much you have presence, that may give you different aspirational ideas. Hey, if I can do this, well, I can do a lot of things. And a personal tale on that for me is most of what I've accomplished in my life as an adult goes back to something that I learned playing college football. I played in the 80s at Towson University in Baltimore, and there was a Division II school, and I was a third string tight end. When you're a third string tight end at a Division II school, we're not talking a fast track to the NFL. I redefined the word mediocre. You can't even find a statistic. I had no role other than to, be a blocking dummy pretty much in practice. But I got through training camp both years. And the second year I got through it in much better shape. And I've never done anything as physically demanding as college football training camp. And from that point forward in the rest of my life, I had this feeling that if I could do that, then I could do this. And my aspirations gradually grew. And it all went back to having the one experience of doing something that I never thought I could do. Jeff, you may have never realized how strong and how much presence and how absolutely professional you look on camera. Well, now that you've experienced
in a white
that,
t-shirt.
Right. And now that you've experienced that, that is going to encourage you to aspire to more. And that, Pam, to your question, that's how your brand may evolve a little bit over the next 6 months, but within that 6-month period, it'll set for a couple of years.
And Jerry, a point not to be missed there, because it goes back to module 2 and how you start your mornings. How many of you start your days exercising?
Aspirational.
But when you get that exercise in, and if it's strenuous exercise like Jerry's training camp was, maybe not to that degree, in your mind, you're telling yourself in the morning, this is going to be the hardest thing I am going to do today. It just puts you in the right mindset to go, I'm ready to attack this day. I just did the hardest thing first thing in the morning. Bring it on. Whatever else I have the rest of the day, piece of cake. That's the power of starting your morning off well too. Just like Jerry went through training camp, it just puts this in the mindset that everything else that hits me today, I got it.
Other questions? So again, I want to thank you all for giving us the trust and the attention and the presence and the vulnerability to share this with everybody. It's a total honor. It's something that Andy and I both very much appreciate you putting the time and the effort into this. Hope you found it valuable. And please share with us your success stories, because I can tell you right now from watching all of you grow, you have big success stories in front of you, and you're going to influence other people in very positive, powerful ways. And it's one of the things that I most treasure about watching leaders expand their influence. We live in a time that I fully believe is a time of enormous leadership void. People don't trust the government. They don't trust their local leaders. They don't trust business leaders. They don't trust heck anybody. And to me, that's nothing more than an opportunity for leadership to emerge, because people want someone to follow. So as we send you out of here, go be a lighthouse, shine your light, be your brand, live on your priorities, and dare to communicate your excellence so that people walk through the door of perception that is your excellence into the room that is your excellence. And as you do that more and more and more, you will find you need fewer words to communicate the point you're trying to get across. I'll follow up with an email that will have the handouts from tonight, as well as the links to the videos from the previous two. Not the recordings, you'll get that as well, but also just some follow-up videos that take some of the concepts we talked about and put them into action for you. And you have my contact information. You have Andy's contact. If you have any questions, thoughts, ideas, please lob them our way. We'd love to keep the conversation going.
Thanks so much.
Jerry,
Jeff.
Andy, thank you guys.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Andy.
guys.
Thank you, Jerry.
Guys,
Thank you, Jerry.
Nice meeting you all too.
Thank you. Nice
Yeah.
meeting you guys.
Thank you.
Go out and
Pleasure.
take on the world.
All right. See you later.
Look out, here we come.
See y'all. Take care.